Okay, so welcome, Lilian. Great to have you here. Obviously, for those that don't know or that didn't get to know or participate in TEES, you were one of the participants at TEES. You pitched your idea, which was called Skills on Wheels, right? And eventually you didn't make it to in terms of the main winner of the event, but you got the Viewers' Choice Award, which was basically what was done by audience and viewers and participants of TEES. And it's the reason why we are profitable and also showcasing your business and what you do in it also. So that also, publicity is always good to build your influence. So this is why we are here, and I welcome you. Thank you for being here. It won't take too long. I'm going to go through the questions one after the other. There may be some follow-up questions, by the way, and so that I guess you help project what you're doing to the audience and to the public. But we also get to know about what you're doing next afterwards. If that's okay, I can begin now. And my first question is going to be just to know more about just generally the story behind your participation at TEES 2022. That's the Tongston Entrepreneurial Education Summit 2022. And the process of you pitching your idea. In fact, even all the way back to you applying to pitch for your idea, and also up to the point of participating in it and afterwards also. So if we can hear from you regarding that journey at TEES, but also after TEES.
Okay, thank you very much. And yes, like you said earlier, I am Lilian Efobi, and the innovation, myself and 3 other young leaders are working on. It's called Skills on Wheels. Now, I came across TEES thanks to the Skills Outside School Foundation. They recommended it for the participant of Skills Outside School Foundation fellowship, and that was how I was able to apply. After I applied, I think I submitted my proposal, then I got selected to pitch my innovation. And on the day of the pitching, after several trainings and all that, like briefings, we pitched. Yes, and like you said, we didn't win, but we were able to get the vote of the viewers and other participants. And yeah, I also took out some valuable insights, not just from me pitching my innovation, but also from the conference itself, because I was able to join several other sessions, and those were really helpful. Some of those things were helpful in terms of infusing them in my innovation, what we do. I had to pass some of this information back to my team because some of them, only one of them was able to join, the other 2 could not make it.
Yeah, indeed. Something very interesting you just mentioned now was that you also participated in other sessions as an audience. And some of those sessions included a panel on education, panels on media, panels on construction, on medicine, and all of that. So hopefully, I think I was the one that moderated the education panel. Hopefully you got a lot of insight, because what you are doing is related to the education field, but also related to the nonprofit space. And it was good. I remember how tough it was. I think you were given only
2 minutes.
Seconds, only 2 minutes, right? Yeah, and it was like rushed. There was not even time to give you feedback immediately, but you pulled through, and as you saw, the audience, the general public, liked your idea and everything, and that's why you are here. So very good to see how you've, we'll get to know more about how you've progressed so far, but good to see that you are even here being highlighted and showcased by Tongston through Tongston Media to the general public. So my next question will be in terms of your journey towards developing that idea, because, like in Tongston, we always say you should dare to think, create, and sell your ideas. And most times, if the idea is not right, nobody will even pay attention to you. Media won't pay attention to you. Investors won't pay attention to you. And in fact, this team that you said you have put together, or you work with together, if they don't buy into the idea, they won't come together, especially on something like this that is not a direct profit-making venture, So if you can tell us a little more about your journey towards having this idea and also developing it to the level of pitching at TEES 2022.
Thank you very much. I would say my journey towards this idea would be splitted in two phases. We have the official or the formal, and then the informal. Before I go to the formal, I'll say for the informal. Now, out of school children or children on the street is something everybody see. And we could see how having these children on the street, especially in the northern part of the country, have caused certain challenges for not just the government, the children themselves, their parents, and the society at large. Now linking it down also to insecurity. The government have tried to do what they can. Some other nonprofits have tried to do what they can, and it seems little or no success have been made. That's the informal part of how it came about this idea. Then in 2021, I was involved in a Young Innovation Leaders Fellowship, and my team, which I'm still working with, the four of us, were given the task of finding a solution to the out-of-school children in northern Nigeria and also in other parts of the country. And we did an empathy-based research. We looked at previous research, even research materials, to see what have been done by the government and other nonprofit, and to see what we could do differently. We discovered that several NGOs, even the government, I remember a certain administration constructed new schools for these children, but yet they didn't go to these schools. The buildings are there decaying, and several nonprofit have tried to address this challenge, but like I said, seems to have made little or no headway, and we decided to come in with a unique solution called Skills on Wheels. And basically what we came up with is not just to address the physical or the emotional state of these children, but also because they are actually on the streets begging for their daily needs, and everybody wants something that would sustain him or her for today, the next day. We thought about, if we decide to give them food and clothes, that would not be sustainable. And we came up with a solution of empowering them with literacy, numeracy, and vocational skills, so they could be financially independent, socially included, useful to themselves and to the society. And that's what we've been working on since 2021 up to today.
Yeah, thank you. That's very interesting. You're not too far from when Tongston was also when Tongston also started, actually, as far as operations is concerned. And by the way, for the audience that don't know, the market that Lilian is talking about is Nigeria, basically, and it's something that is very common among people, or even in the media space, that out of school children are really, like, there's a lot of them basically in different parts of the country, especially in the north, which is what Lilian said. But I think one of the beautiful things about what you're doing, Lilian, is that people, organizations, and governments don't realize that regardless of how much they're trying to make progress in what they do, if these kids or out of school children are not well taken care of as far as their social and emotional life is concerned, or socioeconomic life is concerned, when they grow into teenagers and adults, which we have seen even in the past, they end up becoming the ones that will harm whatever we're doing as people, organizations, and governments. And so the solution that you are trying to provide is almost to say, this worry that you guys are having, it won't exist in the future if what I'm doing becomes successful, because you won't have vices or any sort of menace in society that is going to harm or destroy what you're doing, basically. And I think it's something that anybody that is watching, as I said, whether they're just people, families, homes, or organizations, companies, or even governments, should see in terms of value that you're providing for everybody. And I really recommend you for that. I really commend you for that, not recommend, obviously. Just to also know, to what extent, because in Tongston, we try to make sure that everything that is happening in education contributes to what we end up doing in enterprise, in our jobs, in businesses, and elsewhere, even in government. So to what extent can you tell us that your education and your experiences in the past has contributed to the quality of what you are doing now, and also basically the day-to-day of this venture that you have set out for yourself?
Thank you so much. So I am a graduate of the University of Lagos. I did guidance and counseling with some part of education. So that kind of gave me a background. And after my undergraduate studies, I worked with the Lagos state government on a project called EcoExcel. EcoExcel was basically to improve students or pupils' learning performance. Now that also was like an experience for me, coupled with the knowledge. Then I went on to also volunteer with organizations like Slum to School and some other organizations, after which I also implemented some back to school projects, meaning the out of school children for me has been a thing because I understand the importance of quality education. With quality education, the human capital development of a nation would definitely become better. There'll be more jobs, there'll be security. A lot of things will happen in a nation when children have access to quality education, either formal or informal. So after my doing all these things, I went for my master's in the UK, and I was also exposed to a course called International Development, which exposed all development of financial aids or grants from international NGOs and how it affects development in the global south with other vices thereabout. This also helped in what I was doing. However, I would say the Young Innovation Leaders Fellowship, like I highlighted earlier, was like a platform basically that brought this challenge to the limelight for me to have been involved in other fellowships. And I would see it as a building blocks to what I'm currently doing now in terms of the skills, the knowledge, and the experience acquired. Now, I was in a session earlier on with Engineer Bello and also with Ms. Halima. She talked about this not being an easy solution or an easy work we're doing. Absolutely. It requires a lot of determination and passion to actually scale through, because a lot of people have tried to propose solutions to this, but you need to like keep on striving. We've encountered a series of challenges, but we are still standing today and we hope to make the desired impact. So the trainings, my formal education, informal volunteering experience, the skills outside school fellowship was also very helpful. I got a lot of materials from Maalima when I spoke with her. I also had a mentor too who was trying to do similar thing with what I'm currently doing with my team. So these experience from network education, informal, had been very helpful in getting to where I am with my team today.
Yeah, indeed. So you did get the right educational and work background then to enable you do what you are doing now. Of course, obviously from you having the education and guidance and counseling from Unilag, but also tied to education as well as your work with Slum to School and other NGOs. It's like the same space basically, and it's good to see that you've taken all of that learning and experience to then put into what you're doing now. Hopefully it gives you the results that even you had intended to achieve with the education and the other work experiences that you've said before. And, you know, one of the biggest things that is happening right now in society, whether it's you trying to get a job or in fact, even relationships, trying to meet new people, trying to network, trying to set up a business, and even at the moment where we see in Nigeria, there is election happening, trying to get votes is the ability to think, create, and sell your ideas or whatever the other party is interested in. What was your own, what did you find as the most challenging aspect of thinking, creating, and selling your idea of skills on wheels, especially on a platform like TEES to Tongston Ventures for them to give you the grant?
Thank you so much. Now, before Tongston, I think the most challenging aspect of this, because it's a not-for-profit, is the enterprise arm. My team and I did a lot of brainstorming, like how do we make this sustainable? Not just if we empower these children, but how do we make it sustainable so it can outlive us and be there for years to come to empower other children? We designed an enterprise arm. It seemed it will take like some time before we begin to reap out the benefits of those enterprise arms to make it more sustainable. Then during Tongston, they requested for a proposal and I began working on the proposal with the, for the enterprise, and because Tongston, it's enterprise, education enterprise focus in terms of they want to see not just the not-for-profit angle or the impacts, but how sustainable will this be? If you're not there, will somebody be able to manage it for you? And I would say that was like the challenging part for me. I began, how do we make this sustainable and show that it can generate income that would benefit the children and also be plowed back into the not-for-profit to also benefit more children to come. And I think that was where was very challenging, but at the end of the day, I guess it paid off. And the session I had earlier with the members of Tongston also helped me like a whole new focus.
Yeah, indeed. You really are courageous with that, because most people that try to pitch their ideas for investment or for grants and things like that, they're always for profit. So that's why you see so many platforms and venture capital is looking for where to put money that can multiply. But so for somebody to come with a social type of enterprise or a non-profit type of enterprise, it's even ×2, because the currency for that is not profit. The currency is impact, is social impact, basically. And that is what you are promising, or you were promising Tongston and other Tongston investees to make sure that they get their buy-in, or they are sold on this thing that you are selling, or they buy into this thing that you are selling, and of course give you the grant and access to other things also. But if you can tell me also a little about other platforms that you've tried this pitching of your idea of skills on wheels, and also how were those experiences different from this one?
Thank you very much. Yes, I have pitched Skills on Wheels on other platforms. I have pitched Skills on Wheels with the Clinton Global Initiative earlier this year. And yeah, we scaled through, we got in to undergo the trainings and all that. Then a colleague of mine pitched with Golden Global Fellow. We got to the semi-final stage, but didn't make it to the top 15. Now, what makes it different, Tongston, different from other platforms I have pitched? Now, other platforms just look at the social impact of what we're doing at Skills on Wheels. But with Tongston, they want to see the social impact and they want to see the enterprise arm, because the enterprise arm, we at the end of the day fund or sustain the social impact. We will not keep on getting grants forever. At a point, grants will stop coming. So what do we do at that stage when grants stop coming? That's where the enterprise arm comes in to sustain the social impact.
Yeah, indeed. Very good point there. It's one of the things I encourage people that are going into non-profit space or social work to see that at the end of the day, there's difference between when you say non-profit organization. The difference between that and the normal limited liability company is that for the limited liability company, when you make profit, the profit has to be distributed as dividends to shareholders. But the non-profit space can also make profit. It's just that the profit has to be put back completely into the organization so that you don't declare any profit or dividends to shareholders. And that's the difference. But either way, you still need money to make it. And I think the other leverage that the tag of nonprofit gets or takes advantage of is that you get to have donations, because people see it's not about the profit that you're making as shareholders, but it's also about just using the money to do work. And so that's why donations and charities are easier to attain with a nonprofit. But it's the reason why you got that view from Tongston to say that, look, there's nothing wrong with making money, even if you are not in non-profit space. It's just that the money cannot be redistributed as dividends to shareholders or to the board of trustees. It has to be put back into the company to do even more work, as you said, so that you don't depend too much or holistically on donations and other things like grants. So very good that you learned that part, and I hope that it's something that you can also take in. So because at the end of the day, everything is still business. At the end of the day, you are trading, whether it's commodities or trade or social impact, or you are trading data or etc. for some other form of return, and that other form of the return cannot be money. And as you know, it's money that moves the world right now and different economies and every work that we do. Just my next question right now is, what next for you as far as Skills on Wheels is concerned in terms of further development, and also where do you see this idea going potentially in the next maybe 1 year, 2, 3 years, 4, 5 years, and all that?
Thank you so much. And yes, Skills on Wheels right now may look small, but in the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, we'll see it scaling up to other parts of the country to address the out-of-school children or street children in Nigeria. When we started last year, we started with 10 children, and we've had 50% rate success in terms of attendance and commitment of the children. And there have been challenges along the way, come up with solutions. It's not been easy. There was actually this session I had with the Tongston Advisory Board, and that session gave me a whole new limelight. Now, before that session, my team and I had a meeting on engaging with the children, moving to the next stage of the project, because it's meant to be a 9 months to 1 year project in Akinyele community where we're currently operating. But after the advisory session with the Tongston advisory team, I see Skills on Wheels being remodeled to include the 5 crucial skills Tongston advisory team highlighted. And with that new model, we're definitely scaling up to other parts of the country, and not just scaling up, but we'll get other persons or individuals that will be interested in what we are doing. So in 5 years, 10 years, I look forward to seeing Skills on Wheels across the northern region, and also in other parts of the country like the western and eastern region, addressing the out-of-school children or street children challenge in Nigeria.
Yeah, indeed. I really hope so also for you. Yeah, and as you got in that session, in that advisory session, it's not going to be an easy work. Very highly prevalent situation or problem that you're trying to solve, and you need so many support from it, whether it's from the private sector, from the public sector, or even from the other non-profit space which you exist in at the moment. So you did touch a little about the business advisory sessions you had with us earlier this morning. So for you, what was the key takeaway out of it, especially something that you think basically every business or enterprise owner, whether it's a non-profit enterprise or a profit enterprise or even a government enterprise, what is the biggest takeaway that you think they potentially could make use of out of that advisory session we had this morning?
Thank you for that. So I would say I still can't get over the advisory session we had this morning, because it is like the key to opening that locked door in terms of the challenges we've been having so far. And in that advisory session, about 5 skills. So we were actually addressing 3 skills. However, more light was thrown in, and 5 skills were now addressed in terms of literacy, numeracy, vocational, business skills, and life skills. Now, the business skills was not something we thought about, and it's very important. And addressing or infusing that business skills will give our project or our innovation a new look. So the Tongston advisory session was like the breaking point for me, and my team and I were already discussing. Immediately after the session, I spoke with my team member and was like, okay, let's have a meeting on Sunday. So for business owners or entrepreneurs that's starting up something, an innovation or a business, I would say, get your model right. It takes a lot, but get your model right. And it requires a lot of patience and determination, or you should just be willing to learn. Because if I was not willing to learn, I would obviously not take what the Tongston advisory team gave to me this morning and see this model from new light. Because I'm saying this because several persons have tried to address this. And I told my colleague on the phone that what we are doing, we would not get the perfect model. We will keep on changing until we get the perfect model, because several persons have tried this, but they have not been able to come up with a sustainable solution. And Tongston advisory team just gave us the perfect solution to what we are doing, and we are working on it already. So be flexible enough to get your model right. Once you get your model right, every other thing will fall in place in terms of funding, in terms of the right human resources, in terms of visibility, every other thing will fall in place. Thank you.
Thank you. I think just two more final questions before I let you go. And I'll pick up on what you said regarding getting the model right. For us, Tongston, the holistic general model is that we always try to make sure that any person or people that we work with, any organization that we work with, any government that we work with, we are trying to improve their value, their influence and profitability. That's part of the model that we have. Is there any way that you think, as a result of what you are doing, it can improve the value, influence, and profitability of that community that you are serving, or the locality, or even just the state as a whole? Or how do you see that happening as a result of the work that you do?
Yes, absolutely. Now, in the community where we currently are, several times the government have packed these children with their parents, because their parents are also persons with disability. And the government have packed them in a truck. We've seen some other state government do same thing, because these children move from one state to another. The government moved them to the center and kept them there without providing anything. Because if you speak to these children, they'll tell you they've not given them anything in terms of food and other things. But the government said they've provided something for them. So without any provision for them, the children are back on the streets. Now, with what we are doing, we did something with the parents. We tried to empower them with some skills such as soap making. That would also help them not to go back on the street or on the road, because if the parents go back on the road or on the street, the children have to support them, because they are persons with disability, so they need the support of the children. Now, if the parents are already working on the soap making thought and making money from it, they will not be on the street. Same thing with the children. They will not be on the street or causing whatever challenge they cause once they're on the street, and the government will not be worried about them. So the children become socially included. They are not exposed to being kidnapped by kidnapping teams, or even being recruited by certain groups, as we see in northern Nigeria. And they are not also exposed to child labor and other vices that comes with being on the streets.
Yeah, I think also just to maybe put together these thoughts that you've said in terms of impact on the community, especially how it ties to Tongston's entrepreneurial thinking model of value, influence, and profitability. Basically, what you're saying is that these kids, eventually they become more valuable, not just to themselves, but to their families and to the communities that they exist in, right? And as a result, when they become more profitable in any businesses or jobs even that they go into, that profit comes to wherever they are working, but also the community itself become richer, basically, because, MSMEs, they are said to be the drivers of economic development and profitability, especially for governments and localities. But influence-wise also, if that locality or that community grows and it becomes well known to be prosperous, attention comes to them, so they become more influential, so that when they say something, other communities that are outside of there take it serious, because they have transformed their own lives and they've become all these good things that you've said. And that, I think, helps even with leadership eventually. Who knows, some of these kids will be the leaders of those communities at different levels, obviously in government, but also they know what it means to be of value to the people that they serve. And I really hope that this is some outcome or output that someday in the next 10 years or so, 20 years, when you see it, that you say, yeah, it was as a result of me that this child has become valuable, influential, and profitable to his society and also to his community. I think my final question right now, You know, the startup space in Nigeria, everybody right now wants to be an entrepreneur, start a business, or start up an NGO, or some even now, they want to start up political parties so that they can go into election and things like that. What is the biggest lesson for you in terms of having a startup or starting up something, basically? If you can have one lesson, you're given 30 minutes or 1 minute to give a lesson in terms of startup. And as I said, it can be anything. It can be a political party, it can be an NGO, it can be a business, it can even be just yourself as a one-man business. What is that one biggest lesson from your experience of setting up and running Skills on Wheels?
Thank you. I would say one biggest lesson for us at Skills on Wheels is the consistency in terms of being consistent with what you're doing in line with your goals and your visions, why you started what you started. Because at a point you'll be faced with challenges and you're like, you know what, I'm not doing this again. But before you started, there was a reason or a goal why you started what you started. And that should keep on driving you and also be open to learning. Yes, you do not know it all. There are entrepreneurs that have been long in the space, persons that have been long in the space, and they might have some experience or knowledge that will be useful to you. So be open to learning and consistently do what you're doing and also be impact oriented.
Indeed, I like that. I can relate to some of the things that you said, especially on consistency. Actually, very difficult to maintain because some other things usually come up and they divert you away from it. And I like that response, definitely. I'm sure if I asked you for 10 lessons, you would have given me 10 lessons also, but let's keep it to this one. And but actually, in conclusion, maybe you can tell us how people can know more about what you are doing, how to contact you, how to reach out to you, maybe even how to support Skills on Wheels even more, websites, social media pages, locations, and etc. Just so that we can, and I think I told you earlier in the session that in the advisory session that I will keep following your story and how you guys grow as a startup and as an enterprise or a social enterprise, but also how will other people get to know more about you, your team, your startup, and your journey, basically, especially for the next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and etc.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so to know more about what we do, we are on all social media platforms. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, and we're on Facebook as Skills on Wheels Nigeria Limited. So just search Skills on Wheels Nigeria and you will see us there. You will see what we do. We tend to update it regularly. And you can also reach out to us via mail at skillsonwheels@gmail.com. And yes, I can drop my phone number for you to reach out to us. We are also, so my phone number is 070-841-255. Now, aside from just checking us out, what we do, we are open to partnership in terms of resource persons with who have the skills we want to empower these children with. We're also open to other forms of partnerships, and you can also donate to support in training a child or in empowering a child with a skill. It would really go a long way. Imagine you changing the life of a child. There's this joy in your heart, and the child will always be grateful. And you never can tell what the child will be in the future. Child might be the future president of Nigeria. So not just follow us, but also support us financially, human resources, or you can even volunteer with us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. As you were saying, you never know, he may be the next president and all that. I remember one of our presidents that always talks about when he didn't have shoes or slippers and etc. But I'm not going to expose who he was. But anyway, thank you very much. Thank you. So that's Skills on Wheels Nigeria, right? Or skillsonwheels.com, or once you just put it in Google, Skills on Wheels, it will come up, your social media platforms, and you've given your phone number also. And your name, Lilian Efobi, you're on LinkedIn and all of that good stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I urge you, everybody that's listening, Skills on Wheels, please reach out to them, support them more. And also you can follow their story even with Tongston. In the next 1 year, as I said, if we see good progress in what you are doing, we'll give you more platform to showcase yourself and also what you are doing and your progress, your story, and etc. also. So thank you very much, Lilian. And I hope we all got to learn something, especially those of us that are in the non-profit or social enterprise space. Because this is, you keep hearing about tech, and all these startups doing profit and etc. But these ones are very silent. The ones that are doing the social, but almost like the human side of life in business, So I really urge you also, Lilian, to reach out to as many as you can, donations, etc. Please do support them. And also we can, so far, I think it's been a good conversation with you and good engagement. We can definitely stand by what Lilian and Skills on Wheels are doing. And also one of our partner organizations, Skills Outside School Foundation, also they really are very much in touch with this group of young people. And just in case if you are wondering whether they are really doing the right thing or they are legit or whatever, my word, I give you that. But also, as I said, others that work with them can stand for them to validate what they are doing. So thank you very much, Lilian. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the Tongston media team for arranging this short chat, and look forward to more in the future. Thank you.